Thank you very much. And if you can hear me, then we are definitely ready to go. I just want to start by saying welcome and thank you. First of all, thanks to all who participated in planning this summit. Uh, we've got a great program. We already had an inspiring keynote, and I'm extremely grateful at the community organization around this that didn't lean heavily on the project management committee. It's wonderful to spread the effort and share it between us all. I also want to thank the Open Library Foundation, which supports the VuFind project as our institutional home, and VuFind's registered service providers, all of these wonderful organizations which offer VuFind related services and also provide financial support for the project, which helps keep us going. So if you have a VuFind specific problem and you need some commercial support, do please consider speaking to some of these good people who you can learn more about on our website. And with that said, let's get into what's new. What has happened since the last VuFind Summit? The answer is a bunch of releases. We had the VuFind 10.1 series, which of course I did preview at the last summit, and indeed all this has come to pass. We have support for the new WorldCat API since OCLC shut down the old one. We have made Bootstrap 5 based themes our default and deprecated Bootstrap 3, perhaps introducing some pixel imperfections in the process. We've added the ability to select multiple facet values on a single result screen and then submit them all at once as an optional feature you can switch on. We've made it possible to configure certain HTML elements as sticky so they will always float on the screen, making it possible, for example, to have a more persistent search box that's always visible. We've added some new permission providers so you can have VuFind's permission system activate permissions based on cookies or session values. I should also note I'm hearing a little bit of feedback occasionally. I hope that's not impacting everyone else. Um, we've also done some accessibility improvement work, which is always an ongoing process. And of course, the usual many smaller bug fixes and enhancements. We always fix what we can, and we like adding config settings all the time. Following the 10.1 series, we also had a smaller but significant 10.2, and 10.2.1 is coming very soon with just a few minor fixes. This is a release designed to bridge the gap between the 10 series and the forthcoming 11.0. But it also adds a few new features. It adds support for OpenID Connect as an authentication option. It adds an interactive menu for the command line that provides a more user-friendly way to access all of our utilities for those who don't like constructing command lines on their own. And regarding that transition I mentioned, the biggest thing is the introduction of the Asset Manager View Helper, which changes the way our themes introduce resources like JavaScript and CSS. Due to changes in the Laminas View module, we couldn't continue to use our current solution for our asset pipeline, and we built this new helper to both make the code more readable and to modernize our approach so that we can upgrade beyond what we currently have. So in 10.2, the Asset Manager is just a thin wrapper around the existing Laminas View functionality, but in 11.0, it will be a total rewrite and refactor. So introducing it here allows you to modernize your themes and be ready to upgrade without having to deal with backward compatibility breaks that break everything. And again, we fixed some bugs too. There's also been a good amount of activity in the community. Pretty early in the year, the Project Management Committee put out a number of useful new documents. We came up with a review process for JIRA tickets to help figure out when we can close things that are out of date, will never happen, etc. We created a style guide for the wiki in an effort to encourage more consistency there. We published a software lifecycle policy to offer some somewhat more specific guidance about why you should upgrade, how often you should upgrade, what our support commitment is for the software. The short version is we always want to help you, but if you're 8 years behind, it's a lot harder to do that. Uh, and we put out a VPAT, a voluntary product accessibility template, just commenting on the accessibility characteristics of the software. And that's accompanied by a general accessibility page with our philosophy on approaching accessibility. And of course, documents aren't that good unless you also act on them. So, as a result of that Jira ticket review process, we've cleaned up our Jira significantly, closed a lot of really no longer relevant tickets, also closed some that had been resolved and we just forgot to close them. And we also, in response to, in part to last year's work on a documentation review process, we've added an automatic monitor to the wiki that lists pages that haven't been updated in a few years. And we're keeping an eye on that so that nothing gets too far out of date. Last I checked, I had cleaned the slate there, but it's been a couple weeks, so maybe there's something new, but I've been keeping on top of it. All right, so that's all that's new. What's coming up next? And of course, the big thing is VuFind 11, which, if we remain on track, should be out in late November of this year. So we have some new features there. There's some new functionality in the user account area, which allows users to review all of the content they have created and potentially delete it in bulk if they want to, covering things like comments, ratings, and tags. We've added optional integration with Cloudflare Turnstile. I'm sure many of you have been dealing with bots scraping your content in aggressive and unpleasant ways, and this is one possible strategy to deal with that. We have a new search backend integration with the ProQuest Federated Search Gateway, which can allow you to directly search some of your ProQuest subscription databases if you have some of those. We've added an audit logging system, which can be optionally turned on to track certain kinds of events like user logins, interactions with the ILS, and so forth. Could be useful for troubleshooting problems, among other things. We've improved the system that augments search results using identifier-based lookups. In past versions of VuFind, that only works with DOIs, but it now supports other identifiers, including ISBNs and ISSNs, and is just generally more extensible now. And that's been used to integrate some browsing features, but of course, all kinds of other plugins are theoretically possible. And we've added online payment support. So if you want to allow your users to pay their fines through VuFind, you can turn this on and connect one of the supported payment gateways or implement your own. It's a pluggable system. And then there's a new useful user feature. We've also been working on improving our command line tooling for setting up the database and upgrading. There are some steps that historically have been done through the web browser, and to me, that's maybe making less and less sense as time passes. So we're opening up some alternate avenues so you can better automate and also not have to turn on potentially insecure things in your web interface at any point if you don't want to. And of course, as I always say, many new settings and smaller enhancements are included here. Now, VuFind 11 is, of course, a major release, and that means there are some backward compatibility changes, and some of them are pretty significant. So, of course, big one here, we are dropping all support for Bootstrap 3 based themes, and the Bootstrap 3 compatibility layer has been removed. As I've said before, VuFind 10 is really designed as a transitional release to help you get to 11. So if you upgrade to the latest VuFind 10 and you bring your themes and all the way up to date, then the transition to 11 should be pretty painless. But you probably don't want to just try to go straight to 11 if you haven't upgraded in a while, because some things just inevitably have to be modernized. Bootstrap themes, one of them. Another one is the database abstraction layer. We've been using Laminas DB since the very beginning of VuFind 2, and that library is no longer well supported, whereas Doctrine is much richer, much more widely used, better supported, and we have finally completely gotten rid of Laminas DB and embraced Doctrine, which has been wonderful. Not only do I think the code is more flexible and more readable, but the tooling in Doctrine is better able to detect inconsistencies and problems. It's helped us to clean up our database schemas, for example. Everything is just a lot more consistent now. But the cost of this is, of course, if you have custom database code, you're going to have to rewrite some portion of it. Again, VuFind 10 did a lot of refactoring to isolate the database calls into fewer places, make this all easier. So get to VuFind 10, the transition to 11 shouldn't be too hard. Yet another one, the Asset Manager View Helper I talked about, introduced in VuFind 10.2, required in VuFind 11, so get your themes up to date. And of course, there's been a trend in the Laminas ecosystem to discontinue components that are either no longer particularly necessary or better supported by other tools. And as Laminas has been deprecating things, we've been doing our best to catch up and replace them. So VuFind 11 is going to do away with Laminas config, Laminas crypt, Laminas loader, and Laminas log. So some adjustments may be needed for all of these things. Don't worry, there will be a very long video with all the details when the release comes out. Another detail here is that you will no longer be able to upgrade from a version older than 10.0 if you're going to 11. Because of all the things I've already mentioned, it's going to be too painful to get to 11 from a much older release anyway. So we made this decision in order to clean up our upgrade processes, get rid of some legacy logic, and just streamline everything. So get to VuFind 10. From there, you get to 11. And going forward, I think our upgrade process is going to be a little bit smoother, more flexible, and easier to maintain. And finally, as with every release, we've upgraded our dependencies and requirements. The big changes here are we've gotten up to Solr 9.8. So when you upgrade here, Solr will stop yelling at you for running a version of Solr that is more than a year old. And we also require MySQL 8 now. Nobody should be running MySQL 5, but if you are, please stop. And then, of course, VuFind 11 is just on the horizon. There's more out beyond that. So next year, we will be thinking about VuFind 11.1 and or 12.0. There's always going to be the need to upgrade and modernize things. A few specific things coming. I said last year that VuFind 11 would raise the PHP requirement to 8.2, and then the PHP community extended the support lifetime of 8.1, and so we've sort of deferred that. We might still decide to do that at the last minute for 11.0. I'm not making any promises one way or the other, but if we don't do it in 11.0, we will definitely do it in the next release after that because the end is near for PHP 8.1. Now here is the biggest thing you've ever seen in a small bullet. I talked about Laminas discontinuing things, and one of the things they are discontinuing very soon is the Laminas MVC framework, which of course forms the skeleton of VuFind's architecture. And we're going to have to deal with that. And while it frustrates me that we now have a big technical debt problem to deal with, it also has a bright side in that I think our controller logic is among our messiest and most in need of an overhaul, and this forces us to finally grapple with that. So we're in the early stages of figuring out exactly what our strategy will be. I definitely have some ideas churning in my head. We'll probably talk about this in road mapping, and I'm very open to ideas and opinions. We will get through this thing, but it will be a major focus over the next year because it's a necessary challenge to overcome. And of course, if we get through Laminas MVC, there are also some other things that would probably be good to modernize. The Laminas HTTP component, for example, is getting a bit creaky. Um, and we may be able to incrementally make progress on that. We already have support for Guzzle in VuFind, and we're going to start using that in more places to reduce the footprint of Laminas HTTP, but whether we'll fully get rid of it or not, an open question at this time. We also keep talking about modernizing some of the ways we interact with Solr. We just need to find time to do it. So it remains on the potential roadmap. And beyond that, of course, what new features end up here depend on the road mapping process and the input of the community. There were some great ideas in the keynote we just saw that I'd love to talk about in road mapping. So we'll get there soon. Beyond that, of course, there's also the community beyond the software, and there are a few things that we are thinking about in that scope. Of course, raising funds is an ongoing process because the more resources the community has, the more we can potentially do. One thing that's moving along slowly but surely is the idea of working with book publishers to raise funds for the project through a sort of this book supports a VuFind logo that could be arranged for use. Uh, we'll continue working on our documentation because that's a project that never ends. And with changes coming, we're going to have to make sure everything remains accurate and up to date. Another effort that's spinning up on the project management committee is building an accessibility advisory group to help us make decisions around accessibility, because sometimes it's easy to get stuck when there are multiple solutions to a problem and you're not sure which one is best. And that requires some domain expertise. So we're trying to get the right people in the right place to help us move forward more effectively there. And this may also lead to a broader mechanism for having special interest groups within the community. We will see how that develops, but watch this space. And of course, if we do all of that and have more capacity, we might consider running some community brainstorming exercises to figure out what else the project management committee can do to better serve everyone. And then I've already alluded to road mapping a couple of times, but that is an important next step, and it's one of the things that we do at this summit. So tomorrow at 1800, there's going to be an online road mapping session where we can try to figure out some next steps and bring together all of the energy that this event is going to inspire us with. So to prepare for that, I just always like to put a few things in everyone's heads. Uh, think about how the community could better support us all. Think about things your institutions need but don't have, or things your institutions have but haven't shared yet, because the collaboration goes in both directions. Always interested in knowing whether any of our documentation needs improvement or if training sessions would be helpful for particular subsets of the community. And of course, I'm always interested in bringing more people on board to help get all the work done. So if you think you could help and you want to get more engaged, bring that to the road mapping and maybe volunteer to do something. The more people we have working together, the more we can get done. Though, of course, there is that graph about software development, but we need to, you know, organize our efforts effectively. And with that, if there is any time left for questions, I am happy to talk now, or you can reach me anytime later. My email is up here. You can find me at Demian Katz on the Open Library Foundation Slack. And I'm really always happy to talk about VuFind anytime, so don't be shy. Thank you all.